Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Lewis. I am joined by two of the three other boys tonight. I am joined by Mr. Tyler and Mr. Juice. Gentlemen, first off, how are you guys? I'm going to crack them real quick and get my beer poured for our episode tonight. But how are you gentlemen doing on this happy hump day this week?
I'm great. I'm so great. It's always good to talk to you guys. The wife and I are in the process of booking a cruise, our second one. Pretty excited. And it's Royal Rumble week. So yeah, exciting weekend. Can't wait for that. But I'm good, guys. I'm good.
Good, man. Good. How you doing, Juice?
Good, man. Hashtag where's Joey? I'm starting to believe that with that Royal Rumble announcement that maybe Joey's the 30th entry. You know, he was. I don't know if his car would get there, but
that's the question. He's driving there, probably. He's gonna do like.
Oh my God. That's awesome to see you're going on a cruise, Tyler. I've never been on one. I've been
likewise.
Okay,
I've been begging that I should.
I just a real quick sell on that then. If you can handle being on a boat, they do like 2-night ones. We're going on a 4-night cruise for the price, man, and for just everything you get, dude. It is so worth the money. Like if you like I said, if you can handle being on a boat, it's freaking awesome. You need to do it at least once.
Yeah, we've our whole family's looked at it for a long time, and some of my family doesn't like boats.
I'll just suggest if you don't have kids, don't
do it.
Stay away from the Disney cruise.
Oh yeah, no chance. I would.
Disney cruise is hell on water. So I've heard.
Did you speak from real experience there, huh?
I've never been on one. I've just heard the story. I've heard the nightmares.
You heard it's horrible.
Don't do
That's
that.
Wild. Okay.
Good
to know.
That is good to know. That is very good to know. Well, we'll definitely keep that in mind, man. I've also never been on a cruise, so I don't know what that's like, but good for you guys doing some planning here as well. And first off, hello, Jeremiah. Welcome to the comments, friend. Good to see you again. Says he was about to take a nap, saw we were going live. And you know how he knew we were going live, folks? It's because he's probably got that little
bell notification
on YouTube. Be sure to do that for On Tap Sportsnet. You'll know when we're going live all the time. And then if one of our other shows goes live and you're not interested in watching that night, so be it. But at least you know when we are going live. And also, Jeremiah, maybe a little fun thing that we can kick off on just very, very quickly here. Nothing officially says there is a chance I can make opening day. Boys, I don't know about you guys. Tyler's got it in his description here on the live. I'm ready. I'm ready for opening day. I've found myself on Airbnb again. I'm still looking. I don't care that it's, 2 months away. It doesn't matter. I am ready for Cubs baseball.
I think there comes a point in every single baseball fan's offseason when your roster is pretty much set and all the moves are made and all the cards are where they lie. And you're just over reading Pacoda projections and, betting money lines for Vegas on over under for wins and, MVP stuff. I'm ready for the true baseball to be played. And I think too, now we're getting to the point where we haven't watched Cub baseball in, several months. So I think we're just kind of tired. And also the convention really got us, I think, excited for baseball. And I know Tyler, we walked out talking about that, just how that convention really kind of kicked off the season. And you were even in that moment, I wish we were at Wrigley for 120. I couldn't have believed or agreed with you anymore at that moment.
Been awesome. Yeah, don't be wrong. I'm excited about spring training is always pitchers and catchers reporting and all that and spring training. And I can't remember who said it. I saw it somewhere, but it's spring training's cool, but after the first 2 spring training games, you're just all right, I'm ready for opening day. I like seeing all the cool videos of everybody coming back, going out to Arizona, going to Florida, doing all that and practicing and everything like that, and you get you all excited. And then after 2 games, you're just all right, let's just have opening day now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm right there with you, boys. I can't wait. We're obviously aiming as a team again, just like we were at CubsCon, to be out there for opening day. And speaking of opening day, Joey and I Joey is alive, by the way. We were joking before the show. More hashtag where's Joey? Joey's taking care of some personal things tonight. Wishing all of those well. He sent me a text. We were just BSing a little bit earlier. But we've got some news surrounding opening day. But I'm gonna wait till Joey's on a show with us because I don't want to. But I'm gonna tease that a little something. And for those that are wondering where the Mankini is, I haven't ordered it yet. It probably won't be here till like mid-February. The one I personally want is Cubs red and it has a bow tie on it. That's all I'm going to say. So,
speaking of that, real quick, Juice. I don't know if you listened. I listened to the last episode of Cubs on Tap with Jake and Luce.
Okay.
And I heard that if Seiya Suzuki hits 50 home runs this year, Luce is doing something else ludicrous. So,
whoa! Really?
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
I said I would do some outlandish shit.
Yeah.
If Seiya hits 50
So
bombs.
what are the outlandish things do we have to set the bet boundaries? Because you're just cashing checks left and right.
Yeah,
I am. Hey,
I
but
just
I'll tell you
I
what.
listened to it today, and the second I heard it, I was like, I'm gonna remember that.
I did not. I did listen to their show. I was ducking in and out, and then they were talking about Nick Madrigal. I put my thoughts in the bottom there a little bit while they were talking about him, and
Sure did.
But like I didn't catch the end because I went to dinner, and I missed those receipts. But I'm glad that we're on the same page here. We're catching these.
Yeah, I mean it's on the podcast, so it's out in the world. I did say if Seiya Suzuki hits 50 bombs this year, I would do some outlandish shit. I don't know what that outlandish shit is yet. I'm sure it will be something absolutely ludicrous.
First of all, we got to cash your Mankini bet first. I mean, there's some people who are listening to the show that are.
Hey, we're working on it. I'll tell you what. I've already been on Amazon multiple times looking for this damn thing. I just am trying to find the perfect one. The thing that's concerning me is none of them show sizes, and I hate to break it to you. I can't wear no small.
Oh yeah, it'd be a real shame if it was too small. Yeah,
like knowing my luck, we're gonna be sitting here on the show, and I'm gonna be like, make one sudden movement, and like the seam's gonna pop, and it's gonna fly everywhere.
I think that
it'd be a real shame.
Really, we did. First of all, we're gonna have to rate that episode TVMA, and
1,000%.
The second thing too is we should play off like I call it like Amazon roulette, where like we just put a bunch of them in one of those little circly things on the computer, and then that's the size and style that you get.
Yeah. Oh, that episode is definitely going to have a disclaimer before it starts.
It's going to have to, like in the description, it's going to be like, warning, this is not safe for work. Warning. Please do not view this in a place of employment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's going to be something. But speaking of more friends, hey Kevin. What's up, boy? Kevin Keneally here, checking in from the Dinger Boys. Yeah, man. Hey, Friday show with Booze, just addressing that really quick, was actually a lot of fun. I got the itch on Friday afternoon. I had CubsCon, highlights playing on my TV pretty much all day long as I was getting work done, and just the itch overcame my body. I was like, I need to talk Cubs baseball. And, it was last minute. It's a Friday night. Everybody's got plans. I get it. It's the off season. We're trying to live it up too while we can. And, I threw it in the Dingers chat in our Slack channel, and Booze was like, let's do it. I was like, deal. So we did. And we went like an hour and 25 minutes because
it was a good episode.
We just dumped our thoughts onto paper. But man, oh man, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, appreciate you, Kevin, listening in, man. It's a great conversation with Jake on Friday. We had a lot of fun, and truly, truly looking forward to more of that cross show, collaboration and content. Cross-pollination cross-pollination of the Dingers and Cubs on Tap, boys. We're already 10 minutes in and the show's off the rails. But what else is new? Because it is kind of dog days of January. There isn't a ton to talk about in the Cubs world, guys. We addressed it ever so slightly when we got on the show or on the microphone today, right? We were like, oh, well, the Mancini signing became official, so now I officially have to do the Mancini thing. We saw Carlos Correa's deal fall through twice. So if the Mancini deal fell through, as would have the bet, you know what I mean? But
this is true.
It's official. It's official. So it'll happen here in the not so distant future. But Manny Rodriguez as well as Anthony Kay, both cleared waivers. They were outright at the AAA. Now, granted, they can both request their release, just like Mark Leiter Jr. did just a few days ago. Worth noting, he is now a free agent as well. So there's a lot of small inner workings kind of going on the Cubs news front. But guys, speaking of, Jeremiah says here in the comments, he says Cubs making some minor league moves. And yeah, that's absolutely true. But speaking of minor leagues, guys, this is kind of the hot time where prospects have been flying around on the old Bluebird app and through different articles from MLB Pipeline. And we've seen Jordan Wicks make the top 10 left-handed pitchers list for this upcoming season. We've seen Matt Mervis rank number 4 for first base prospects. And now most recently today, Pete Crow Armstrong is the number 7 outfield prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. It's a hell of a list. And remember, obviously outfield is 3 positions. So, being on the top 10 in that list makes you truly one of the most dynamic. They also graded him an 80, which if anybody's familiar with prospect grades, 20 to 80 is the scale, 80 being the highest you can get. 80 fielding trait for PCA. So that just goes to show how highly thought of his glove is by those that really keep an eye on the major league, or the minor leagues, I should say, from the old major league level. And yeah, Juice, you're repping the South Bend Cubbies tonight right there. But guys, let's talk about it, right? Because we mentioned the 3 names that have already made actual positional lists. And there's a big announcement on the horizon tomorrow, which today, if you're listening to this in podcast, if you're joining us live, it is tomorrow, Thursday. MLB Network is airing the top 100 prospects, all the baseball show. So we will know probably by about this time on Thursday. It's 8:30 Central Time currently. Who is in the top 100 from the Cubs. So I want to kind of just throw this around the table here, and we'll talk a little prospects about it. First off, thoughts on, Mervis, Wicks, and PCA's places on the positional ranking list so far. But in addition, right, we're then going to kind of segue that into what other Cubs we think might make the top 100. But first off, guys, thoughts, Wicks, Mervis, PCA considered among the top 10 in their respective positional groups at the minor league level.
I love it. I mean, it makes you feel confident about what our organization has done as far as building the minor league system. It just goes to show that people are noticing, and to be honest, it's not that surprising. And I would not be shocked if there's more Cubs prospects added to those lists, especially tomorrow when they release the top 100.
100% Juice.
Yeah, I mean, if you just wanted to talk about the 3 that had worked their way up, PCA I've mentioned on the show plenty of times as I've watched plenty of games in South Bend. That 80 grade, I mean, it's just so warranted. I mean, that I've said on the show before, there is not one misstep from that guy, and the speed that he makes plays that are so difficult look so easy. And the ones that are so just outlandish are the ones that you're like, wow, like how do you even get to that ball? And he does that so well. I thought the arm rating on him was a little low. To me, he's got a better arm than they rated. I think he's at a 60 or a 65. I thought that was 5 points low. I think he's a way better thrower. He's just accurate. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's accurate to all bases. And that's why something that I think that's a lost art too in today's, everybody looks when they're grading the arm on how strong it is, but he's so accurate that that's just something that I thought was a little low. But yeah, Mervis too, you got to root for that guy because, I mean, they sought him out, during the shortened draft year, and he's just kind of taken the league by storm. And he was awesome on the panel at CubsCon. I mean, he was so entertaining. I went back, Ron, I know that you rewatched him. Tyler, I don't know if you got a chance to rewatch any of the convention stuff, but just to
bits and pieces, yeah.
Yeah, but just to listen to him, talk about, hitting and situational hitting, it just shows why he's rising as a prospect because he gets it. He is a very smart hitter. And I forgot the third name that you had mentioned. Wicks.
Wicks.
Yeah, I mean, that's the guy's got 5 pitches he can command. Again, another player I watched in South Bend so often. I mean, anytime that you have 5 pitches that you can play with in command, you're going to be a good pitcher. You're going to be tough to hit around, and he does that so often. He doesn't throw like extremely hard, but I mean, it's much like that. You never know what's coming because he can, to both sides of the plate, throw 3 to 4 pitches and command 5 if he's on that day. And that's just something that, like, those 3 guys, it just makes sense. So cool to see them, get those ratings.
Well, going back to like PCA for a second, just listening to him talk at CubsCon, like that dude, he just sounds like a workhorse. Like that guy, like just I'm ready to root for that guy. Like I'm ready to see that guy just like bust his ass day in, day out on the opening. Probably, we may see him at the end of the year, maybe as a call up. I don't know. But I'm just ready to watch that guy just ball out. Especially after just talking or listening to him at Cubs convention, and then watching all these, all the different. What's the series called that the Cubs YouTube channel has been putting out? Road to
Wrigley. Is it the Road to Wrigley, or was that the name of the convention thing?
That was the marquee movie or whatever.
Okay. Brick.
Whatever that little channel that it gets you pumped up about all of them. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen all those, go back and watch those. I watched those right before Cubs convention.
They're called On Deck.
On Deck. Every single one of those are awesome. All of them.
Agreed. Yeah, and Jeremiah popping it up in here as well as I. At the same time, I looked it up. That's just great minds thinking alike. Couple quick comments here. He says, our boy Scott Crawford, Jed, the Jedi Master, has the plans, and it shows. And he also says, future All-Stars, PCA and Wicks. Mervis might not be an All-Star, but only because of the numbers. Great first basemen still have 40-plus homers a year. I think you guys hit on a lot of great points. I think what was most interesting about these lists is it's the first time we get to see all their individual traits graded, going into the season, seeing what they've improved on from the year before and so on and so forth. And again, worth noting, right? Wicks falls number 6 among all left-handed pitching prospects in baseball. When's the last time the Cubs had a top 10 left-handed pitcher in any prospect list? I couldn't tell you.
Lefty too. That's why.
Not even righty. Question. Like this isn't even Dylan.
That's a good question.
Or Kyle Hendricks or Mark Pryor or Kerry Wood. Like lefty. I couldn't tell you the last time the Cubs had a top left-handed pitching prospect.
That's gonna bug the hell out of me, though.
Oh yeah, that's a trivia question. Somebody can tell us that. That would be phenomenal because I truly think it's been probably too long to look up at this point, right? It's been
Sean Marshall,
maybe.
That would be my best guess.
Him or,
but I think that's a fair...
either him or who was the other lefty around? Rich Hill. Did he come up through Chicago?
Rich Hill,
maybe Rich Hill. I mean, but even then, right? We're going back almost 20 years. Like that's
why we're
that's crazy.
It's a long time. So I think that just goes to show huge things about Wicks, right? And then Mervis was number 4, PCA number 7. Mind you, as I mentioned, right, the outfielders list is all outfielders, right? So you're technically covering 3 positions in one list. So to be anywhere in that top 10 is worthy of any kind of recognition because you are amongst left fielders, right fielders, and center fielders. And PCA right up there with some of the top center fielders. But a couple things I just wanted to outline here really quick. Juice, you mentioned his arm for PCA. Yeah, they grade him as a 55 arm. Again, the 80 fielding, which I think is incredible. He is a 60 run grade, 50 power grade, 55 hit grade. So overall, pretty balanced prospect outside of the field grade. But want to just quickly read why he got the 80 field grade. They noted it here in the article, releasing the top 10 outfield prospects. This is from MLB.com. It says scouts give top of the scale grades to Crow Armstrong for his center field skills. He covers a tremendous amount of ground with his combination of plus speed and precise reads and routes, and has solid arm strength his solid arm strength also rates better than most players at his position. So Juice, I think kind of nods to your point, right? Of he has better arm strength than I think a lot of people give him credit for, especially from center field. Again, it's a much different throw from center field than it is from the corner outfield spots. Mervis kind of the same way, right? His power grade is a 60. His arm grade's actually a 60 because he was I believe way back in the day, actually a third baseman, if I remember. Oh, I'm sorry. He spent his first 2 college seasons as a pitcher before focusing on just hitting his final 2 years. So he's got a pretty good arm on him. But the one thing I think about Wicks that's interesting is he has a 50 grade fastball, a 45 grade curve, a 55 grade slider. He's got a 70 grade changeup.
Yeah, it's Kyle Hendricks territory.
Yeah, that's exactly what my thought was, right? Like he's Kyle Hendricks territory with that changeup. And again, coming from a lefty, I feel like changeups is placed so differently out of a lefty's arm than a righty's arm anyway. So talk about a guy, right? If I'm Jordan Wicks, who I'm talking to all the time is Kyle Hendricks, right? If I'm already considered like I have an elite changeup, how do I make this thing better? How do I make this an out pitch? As, arguably, like you said, Juice, right? He's got 4 to 5 pitches that he can actually command. And I think that's what makes this group of 3 here so interesting, making these top 10 lists, because not necessarily are all of them going to they're not all going to make the top 100 necessarily. I think that's the interesting thing about the positional lists, right? You'll see these position lists, but then they zoom out at that 30,000 foot level and it's their top 100. And there are some guys that get left off. So I'm really intrigued to see that top 100 that does get released on Thursday. But again, I really think that these 3 are probably 3 guys that are probably the closest to the big leagues of like the Cubs' top prospects, right? Like obviously Brennan Davis is up there too, like don't get it twisted, right? But like of the like guys that the spotlight might be on a little more than others, Wicks is going to for sure be starting the season at AA. He made it all the way up to AA last season. We got to see him a little bit there before the conclusion of the MILB season. Mervis obviously made the crazy jump from high A all the way to AAA, and we know that he could be competing for a roster spot out of spring. And then PCA. Realistically, PCA is starting the season in Knoxville. He's probably going to start at AA. They want to see what he can do. He did a nice job of readjusting to that high A pitching after a little bit of an adjustment period upon initial call up. Very excited to see what he does at AA and if he can make it to AAA before the end of the year, because I think that'll really help Cubs fans get comfortable on what his trajectory is to the major leagues. So guys, enough of me talking because I want to hear more from you guys now. Let's twist the dial here a little bit. We'll stay on the prospect talk. What other Cubs are we missing here when we think top 100? Because I think there's honestly a world where Jordan Wicks gets left off the top 100. I really do. I think there's a world where, like Mervis probably is at the back end of the top 100, in my humble opinion. But PCA, in my opinion, has to be in the top 100, right? Because he was got as high as 35 or 28 last season or some crazy shit like that. Like he was up there last year even. And if they're rating him better in some of these fields, like to me, that means he's on there. But what other Cubs are we missing? Because the Cubs at one point last year, I believe, had 4, if not 5 guys in the top 100. I think they could easily have 5 to 6 guys in the top 100 this year. Would love to hear who you guys think we're missing. And do all these guys get on there? Does Wicks sneak in maybe into the back end of the top 100? Or is he like maybe in that 1 to 115 range where if he really develops fast and some guys graduate to the major leagues, could he sneak in later in the year? So I just, again, want to open it up for debate and for thought here because I'm really intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. And I also am really intrigued to see then how we can compare it to the top 100 list once it's released on Thursday evening. So, boys, floor is yours. What are we thinking here? Who else is joining these guys?
I think you said one already. Like I think Brennan Davis is definitely going to make it. I mean, the dude had so much potential coming in last season, and then just a couple of injuries screwed that up. Whoop-de-doo. Stupid question. How many games does a pitcher have to basically to be considered not a prospect anymore? Because there's a guy I want to say, but I'm afraid if I say it, he's Wesneski.
Fair. I don't know.
Because if you know what I'm saying, like I don't understand.
I mean, in fairness to that point, Tyler, really quick, Corbin Carroll is considered the number 1 outfield prospect in baseball, yet he spent some time with the Diamondbacks at the end of last season. So I think you could play Wesneski into that conversation. I really do.
Yeah, but to be honest, I feel like PCA should at least if he was like 30-something last season, why not top 25 this year? I don't know. But I don't know. I think it might be interesting to see. I don't think he cracks the top 100, but maybe Ben Brown.
Mm.
I don't know. He had a
Mm.
decent season last year. And plus, didn't we just who did we get him from? Because we got him in a trade, didn't we?
Philly,
Philly.
the Robertson deal.
But yeah, I don't know if there'd be too many that crack the top 100, but I mean, at the same time, like, I don't know, for Jordan Wicks to make the top 10, and I know it's just left-handed pitchers, but I mean, that's got to surely the guy that put him on the top 100, right?
You would think.
You would
I mean,
think.
I think what makes that interesting too, to just quickly note here, and then Juice, we also obviously want to hear from you here, buddy. But Wicks ending last season was the number 5 prospect in the Cubs farm. PCA was 1, Brennan Davis was 2, Kevin Alcantara was 3. But worthy noting, Cade Horton was number 4. And he's not in the top 10 right-handed pitchers list coming into this season. So I think that's something to keep an eye on here too, right? Is like the amount of guys that we saw last year, I think toward the top of the Cubs list is going to shift dramatically. Like that's just my humble opinion on the matter. And Juice, you're nodding your head in agreement here, buddy. I know you've got some thoughts on this as well. Either chime in where you see fit too.
For some reason, I remember Kevin Alcantara in the top 100 at one point, right in the midseason mix.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that I look at that could really shoot up this list earlier on in the year too. You know, when they do that reevaluation a quarter way through the year, I've talked to a lot of Cub fans who watch a lot of baseball in Myrtle Beach, which is weird, right? Like I'm up here in South Bend, but I learned over those conversations that park does not carry. It's nearly impossible to hit home runs in Myrtle Beach. Complete opposite in South Bend. That place is a bandbox for a lot of hitters. I think Kevin Alcantara may make that place look small next year because by all points, it's all going to point to him starting in South Bend. It would not surprise me if Kevin Alcantara catches up to PCA by the end of this. Strictly because I think he may make that park look real small, and he may end up being in Tennessee before we know it. He hit 9 of his home runs. He hit 9 of his home runs on the road last year of his 15, because that is just not a carry ballpark. On the road, he was a different hitter than he was at home. So it's pretty clear that he did not like that park. If you truly got him in the corner and wanted to talk about what was going on at Myrtle Beach, that park is just not good for hitters from everything that I've heard. So he may hit a lot of bombs at South Bend. I'm excited to see it because I'll be out there in left field hopefully catching one of them.
But sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you another, because I know you watch a lot of these guys. What do you think about a guy like Owen Casey?
Yeah, well, he hit really well at home too. That was, he was with South Bend last year, and he hit really well at home. He's probably going to start in Tennessee, right? I mean, I think that'll probably be a move up. If not, he'll be up real quick. He's one of those on the fringe that if he comes out and dominates, high A ball, he may be on the bus real quick going to Tennessee. But Kevin Alcantara is just one of those guys that I don't think we talk about enough, because he just has the body makeup to be a superstar. Like you're talking 6'6", big guy, fast. He has all the tools, and he played in a park that is not susceptible or not warranted for home runs, and he was able to do some damage on the road. So it was all year in low A last year. Sometimes they get to South Bend here and it clicks, and I see that with Kevin Alcantara. I could be wrong. He could come here and struggle, and it's going to be a work through because he is young. But I see those power numbers, and he hit 15 home runs in Myrtle Beach last year. There could be another 10 if he's playing the whole year here, if not maybe another 12, because that's a difference in parks, because that's how many times they're playing on the road opposed to at home. And if you're hitting in a park that you can't hit in, that doesn't carry to your strength, then it's going to be a problem. I read a lot about that park in the last couple weeks because I was prepping for this conversation, because he is one of those guys that I don't think we talk about enough, because he is maybe so far down the rung of like he has so many more years to go through the system.
Right.
But I think we also forget like the quick rise from Matt Mervis and like how that works. You know, sometimes it just clicks and you find yourself at South Bend. And this is my thought. What if he starts at South Bend, starts quick, and he's driving the ball, he gets to Tennessee, and that confidence just kind of grows, and he can carry it all the way through and work on his swing and really start to figure some stuff out. That's why, like, if I were to pick one guy that's going to have that Mervis type rise, it would be Kevin Alcantara. And that's why I sit and I talk about, you know, the MLB top 100. And I'm like, yeah, he was on it at one point. I think he should still be on that. If you're going to talk about guys who aren't on that list at all that maybe should, I think that's I think the hard part is so many of these guys are so far away that it's hard for me to say, yeah, another one of these guys are going to be. And there's such depth prospect-wise for right-handed pitchers, which is like, that's the Cubs bread and butter right now when it comes to, you know, they have guys like Killian Wisniewski, you know, Ben Brown. But there's so many great arms not in our system that are right-handed that you're just roadblocked for a little bit, that are probably going to go through the system much quicker and find themselves on a major league roster, and they won't be prospects anymore, and they won't qualify for the top 100. And that's why I think next year maybe we see way more when we have this conversation, guys jump onto that list than this year.
100%.
And it also shows, I mean, just listening to you talk about that, Juice, it also shows how stacked the outfield is too.
Yeah.
And it
really
makes
does.
it, and not to go back to what Luce, you and Jake were talking about last episode, but it makes you wonder, like, there's a lot, I don't want to say pressure, but there's going to be a lot of eyes on the minor league system as far as developing this year. It really makes you wonder if, depending on how this season goes, are some of those guys getting traded? I don't know. It's exciting. It's whatever you want to call it, but it just makes you wonder, just with all this depth that you talk about, Juice. It makes you wonder, like, you know, and it's a good problem to have.
Oh, 100%. And just to kind of back up to what you were saying there, Juice, right? Like, I'm going to just quickly share the paragraph about Mervis from the top, 10 prospects for first baseman. He was deemed the highest riser and humblest beginning, as these are all the same categories for every list. But it quotes, never mind the first base list, Mervis wasn't even ranked among the Cubs' top 30 prospects at the end of the 2021 season. The former Blue Devil was signed by the Cubs for $20,000 as a non-drafted free agent in 2020 and then produced just a 676 OPS and 69 single A games in his first full season a year later. Then he exploded for what we saw this year. 36 home runs, tied for third most in the minors across all three levels in 2022. And this year he's heading into his age 25 season. Talking about a spot at Wrigley, they said, talk about a quick turnaround. Adding to your point, Juice, what you said there about Kevin Alcantara. This is a guy who's already been in the conversation of a top 100 prospect in baseball. And who's to say he doesn't hit that stride? He's been working out this year, right? He's been probably working in Arizona a little bit with the Cubs, getting stronger. He's 6'6", for God's sake. Like, that's a big dude. That is a big dude with a lot of power, and we've seen some of that power. There was a couple of those home runs I remember last year in Myrtle Beach that he hit, and not even knowing the dimensions of the ballpark, you could just go, oh, yeah, that was a bomb. Like, he got all of it. And he's only 20. He's only 20 years old. He's a kid. He's a baby. He's just a little guy. Like, he's going to be better. And I think that's what makes this year's group of prospects for the Cubs so exciting, because they have 10 to 12 guys, I would make the argument, who are potentially guys that could do like a high rise like Mervis did, right? We could see a huge year out of a guy like Ed Howard.
What about a guy like Miguel Amaya? Yeah.
I mean, Miguel Amaya is a guy that nobody's been talking about because of the injury.
He was a guy, what was it, just a few years ago, wasn't he in like the top 10?
I think he was number 3 at one
point.
Maybe
at one time. So that's another guy. I don't think, going back to us talking about the top, I don't think he cracks the top 100, but he's definitely a guy that like could be one of those guys like Juice you're talking about, like an Alcantara, like a guy that just, or maybe even like a Mervis that just, jumps back, hey, remember me,
Yeah.
Be cool to see.
There's so many guys. I think that's what's going to make this year exciting. Like last year was an exciting year from a minor league standpoint because it was the first, I'll call it true minor league season, right? Where 2021 was still weird because there wasn't a 2020 minor league season. So guys were readjusting to playing baseball again. 2022 was the first time things felt real again since 2019 for minor leaguers, especially, right? Like now this year, right? This is that second year. This is that second year for a lot of these guys who now have gotten their feet wet, who have spent a full season at one of these top 4 levels in the Cubs minor league system, whether it's low A, high A, double A, triple A. It's going to be fun to see who has that kind of. I don't know if anybody's going to have a Mervis level ascent because it's hard to jump 3 levels in one season. But even a guy like you said, like an Alcantara, right? Maybe he burns through high A, and all of a sudden, at the end of the season, he's in double A, right? Or maybe a guy like PCA crushes double A and somehow gets to Iowa before the year's over. Or a guy, in my opinion, and this was something I brought up before, and I think Jake and I touched on this on Friday's show. I think we could see Jordan Wicks in 2023. I really do. Like, if he burns through double A early and he has 10 really good double A starts, and they're like, you know what, man, we're going to give you a shot to go to Iowa. And if he keeps it up at Iowa and there's enough injuries, even in the pen, I could see him getting a legitimate shot. But again, that's what makes this 2023 season so exciting.
I agree with that, but I also want to wait and see what they do with Hayden Wesneski, because to me, that's going to dictate what they do with pitching prospects in the future. The hardest thing right now for us as Cub fans is to be like, yeah, this is how the Cubs grow and develop pitching, because we haven't done it in so long. We don't know what the processes are. We don't know if it's easier for hitters to advance through, and what they deem is ready. That's the thing.
What's developing pitching juice? We don't know.
Right. That's what we're like. We're sitting here saying, oh yeah, he could go right through double A and end up at, well, yeah, sure. But do they think do they think that he has all 5 pitches that can compete at the major league level? Or, what's the importance to this team? What is it to have him start at all of the levels? Mm-hmm. That way he can develop it and say that, hey, I checked every box. Or do they feel like they can develop pitching while he's on the major league roster? Because this was another thing that we talked about with the last core, that once these guys got to the major league level wasn't ready to get these guys, further in their games, to get Javi to lay off of sliders and Chris Bryant to, stay healthy. And that's pretty much what that was for it. But, for your Addison Russells, that it came down to obviously him being a bag and not being as consistent either. So like there were a lot of things that while at the end of the run in the core, they weren't as, put together because they stopped developing in the major league level. Do they feel like they're better equipped now, or do they feel like they want to have them check all the boxes? That way, if they do get to the major league level and they don't get better, at least they've checked the boxes and done all they could on the player development side. I hope that's not the case. I hope that there's player development at every single level, and I think that that's what they'll probably tell you, that they're put, those systems in place. But with that said, we don't know what the boxes that he has to check are as well.
I say it's the first time. I'd say it's the first time as a Cubs fan that I'm legit considering wanting to get, like, I get the major league TV package every year. I'm seriously considering just getting the minor league package, because you can say what you want about the guys from the past, but like there was a few guys, you had your Bryant, you had your Baez and all that, but like this is like the first time there's just like a multitude of guys
100%
that you just want to watch. And you got freaking Juice over here with a front row seat every night, but I'm like, it's got me wanting to like get that just to watch, just to keep up with it.
Last year, Tyler, I pinched myself at a game because I sat there on a Jordan Wicks start with PCA in center, with Owen Casey in right, who'd they have? They had another Riley Martin, who we've talked about pretty often on the show, came in to close it. And the next day, I believe the pitcher was
wasn't it hers?
It might have been. It might have been hers. So it was like, yeah, I'm coming back tomorrow, and I'm going to watch these same guys up. Oh, and Jordan Wogu too was also in left field that day. I pinched myself and I looked and I was like, oh, and my favorite Cub prospect who I've talked about, Pablo Aliendo. So there was no reason to even get up and grab a beer, like, because you were going to miss something. And with the quickness of the game and all of that, now it's like you look down for a second, you miss 3 pitches. There were times I tweeted something out about PCA and I looked up and like he was already on third and stole like 2 more bases, because that's how quick the game happens in the minors with the new rules, which we've talked about plenty on here. But yeah. it's worth it. I think we're all lucky being people who watch Marquee, because Marquee at least has a good amount of the games. I know, Tyler, are you able to get it down there?
Yeah, thanks to Joey.
Yeah.
Thanks to Joey, I get.
So that's nice.
It's a funny story, but thanks to Joey, I now have this new app that basically gives me everything. And yes, I get Marquee.
And that's the other thing too, that there were some days that I would go and watch 5 innings of the South Bend game. They would pull hers or Wicks, and I go, oh, well, they're going to throw, so and so and so and so after. I'm going to go back, and the Tennessee game was on, or the Myrtle Beach game was on. So it was to watch this system. And I think, like, I don't like to toot our own horn, but when I do, I really toot our own horn. The fact that we have, the Iowa guys for dingers, and we have, us over here in South Bend, and we're so, dug in on, the Myrtle Beach team, and seeing, the Tennessee, you're not too far from Tennessee either, Tyler, if you wanted to go and grab a game either. I think that, like, if you're not following the On Tap group, for all Cubs baseball, you're really missing out, because, I mean, we cover, in the market. I mean, I'm talking about, like, these guys are in my backyard, and they're all going to be Triantos. Triantos will be there next year. I can't wait to watch him, run around the bases and be exciting. And Kevin Alcantara, who I just talked about, he'll be here too, probably. So.
Yeah, Tyler, I'll tell you what, I got MILB TV toward the end of the year when they kind of put it on discount for like $20 just to see what it was all about. I'm getting it this year for the whole season. Like, it's worth it, because I would have it up on my personal computer while I'm doing stuff throughout the day, and I would literally, that's what I would do, because you can sort it by team. So you can go Cubs, and then all 4 of the games, whenever they're on, are just listed there, and you can just click between them if they're all on the same time. Yeah, and it's great. Like, I listen.
I was going to say, every now and then you might catch one on MLB TV, just when they're like wanting to show off, but it's just whoever they,
Yeah, I mean, but it's great, because, like, I can't tell you how many day games there were last year for AAA that I would listen to. Because first off, I think Alex Cohen is great as a play-by-play nerd.
It's great.
I love Alex Cohen. Big old shout out to @Voice of Cohen. He's fantastic. He's so good. That's a guy I want to get on the show so desperately. But he is incredible. And just like listening to him, and it was a Killian start too, which was cool. So it was like bounced into the Killian start, and then like, later on I bounced over and it was, South Bend and Tennessee. Like, it's worth it. I highly recommend it, especially for Cubs fans, because like you said, there is so much excitement surrounding this team right now. It's very easy to get into it. Quickly here in the comments, before we keep going around, I got a couple thoughts on guys that might crack the top 100 as well. Jeremiah's guesses, he says Owen Casey or maybe DJ Hurst. I think those are interesting ones. Scott Crawford brings up Darius Hill, who last year
had a name I forget.
314 batting average and 812 OPS. I know somebody was dealt to the Giants. I don't think it was Hill, but somebody was. And then Jeremiah said here that in 2019, he said Amaya was our top prospect. I believe Amaya was 3. I think that was the highest he was. But again, crazy to think that, Amaya went from number 3 in the system to number 16 in the system because that's how much influx of talent there was in the prospect pool for the Cubs. So I certainly think that's worth keeping in mind.
And he's speaking of him, like he's good to go, like as far as minor league opening day to catch, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was doing like the Arizona Fall League or something
Yeah.
to like get reps in and all
Yeah,
that.
he caught an Arizona Fall League, and then I'm sure he's been working at the complex in Arizona a lot
And guys,
this year.
we've done this show so many times where we talk about these prospects, and we never even mention Ed Howard. Like,
No.
and he's a top 15 pick
Yeah.
out of the system that has a ton of great tools once he gets healthy. Like, there's just so
to
much.
Go back to what you
mentioned.
said, just to go back to what you're saying, it's the depth, man. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, worth noting, like as of last season, Ed Howard was considered a 60 grade arm and a 70 grade fielder. I mean, there's a reason they said when he was coming out of the draft that his glove was MLB ready. I mean, defensively isn't his issue. As long as the bat develops, he's a true shortstop caliber player at the major league level, especially at least from a defensive perspective, right? Which is where a lot of guys end up shifting out of position, right?
Yeah.
Like most of these guys are like, oh, they're good shortstops, but realistically, they're better off at third or second or something like that once they add muscle and build power. Howard is a true, like, that dude can stay at short when he gets to the major leagues because his glove's so good. And again, Juice, it testifies to just how good the system's going to be this year and how much fun they're going to be to watch. Guys that I'm keeping my eye on from like a top 100 perspective. I think Christian Hernandez is a key guy to keep an eye on this year because he'll be in the States. He was in Arizona last season, so he might start the year in Myrtle Beach. And if he starts the year in Myrtle Beach, that's a guy that I think can because he was already sniffing the top 100 at times last season. So I think he's a guy right up there with Alcantara, right? That can make kind of a rise through, especially if he starts to really ball at A ball and maybe gets the high A before the season starts.
I hope so much. I'll tell you what, I will be at his first home start. Like, I will not miss that one. That's the one that I'm so excited for.
I might have to like work from your apartment the next day. Because I'll come venture out on like a Wednesday night. I don't care if that's going to be the case because you're only about an hour and 20 minutes or so from me, which isn't too terrible. But yeah, man, I mean, I think those guys. I think you guys mentioned a lot of great names. I think a name that we're going to have to keep an eye on, Cubs fans, really anybody for that matter, hasn't really seen a ton of them yet. I think Cade Horton's the guy we're going to have to keep an eye on. I think he's the guy that can rise quickly. He was already graded as a top 5 prospect after the draft in an already loaded Cubs farm system. I think he's a guy that can 100% continue to grow, and maybe do something kind of special, really, at the end of it when it is all said and done. And, okay. I like when Jeremiah pulls out he pulls out receipts. He pulled out the 2019 prospect rankings, and he was correct. Miguel Amaya was number 1
so wild.
With Nico Horner, Braylon Marquez, Adbert Alzolay, and friend of the program, Cole Roeder, as your
another
top 5
forgotten Cub.
Agreed. Not forgotten around here though, because that's our boy Cole Roeder. Cole, hey, he's the only Cubs prospect to be on our show twice. So, in the OnTap family of shows twice.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
he was on Northside 9 way back in the day, and then he was on Cubs on Tap as well. Actually, Schwartzy and I did that interview with Cole the second time around. One of the rare Schwartzy sightings on Cubs on Tap. We'll have to make that happen at some point this season and get his beautiful brain on an episode or two when things come around. We got a quick comment here. Speaking of Ed Howard, Josh Williams from YouTube says Howard could move quickly too if he starts hot once healthy. Could be peaking at AAA by the end of the season. Maybe. Right? I mean, I would love to see that. I feel like everybody, especially from Chicago, are big Ed Howard fans, right? He's the hometown kid, like played at Mount Carmel. You get drafted by your hometown team. I think what makes it even more fantastic is the fact that like White Sox fans wanted him so badly because he like participated in the White Sox like baseball camps and stuff, and then the Cubs got him, and it's just like yes, we took him.
Guy you want to root for too because he was always kind of deemed as too small and kind of grew into because he was with those Jackie Robinson teams that were in the Little League World Series. But yeah, no, I hope that's right because and he solves a huge issue going forward too, right? That having that depth up the middle and elite defense, that's something that I think that we all agree here is the way that the Cubs are kind of going to be built for a while. So having that ability to move around the field would be nice. And yeah, I'm rooting for him for sure.
100%. Yeah, man. I think, again, kind of the gist of our show here today was really just diving into the prospects, right? We're going to hear a lot of these names tomorrow. Be sure for everybody, do check out those lists when they become official. The MLB Top 100 program begins at 6 o'clock Central Time on MLB Network. So again, if you're Eastern Time Zone, like our boy Juice over there, at 7 o'clock. I'm going to record it. I'll be downtown tomorrow, and I've got some plans after work that I'm excited about. So I will be unable to watch it live, but I'll definitely record it and go back and watch it once I get home tomorrow evening. Again, I want to see where all these Cubs come in and where they settle. From that perspective, guys, we're at the 50-minute mark. Who would have thunk that we could have gone on for 50 minutes just about a handful of prospects and how excited we are about them? It might be the dog days of January, but it doesn't matter here at Cubs on Tap. We'll still somehow give you an hour show because that's just how we operate around here. But boys, before we start to kind of digress and turn this thing down for the night, I want to get some final thoughts out of you guys. Anything that's been rattling your brain, just whatever thoughts you have on Cubs baseball. Let me hear them. Before we tuck in and get out of here for the evening.
Well, tonight is supposedly I believe it's tonight on MLB Network is the top 100 or the top 10 second baseman right now. And of course, they released the fan vote, and Nico Horner is getting shafted once again. He was at like 6 or 7. I could give a shit about that list because there was another list. Ian Happ got shafted on that list. So, screw them. They don't know. They don't watch baseball. But other than that, yesterday with the announcement of the former Philly and the former Blue Jay, I think that's the only two good teams he played for. Scott Rowland making the Hall of Fame, which, by the way, congratulations, good for him. But yesterday was just a reminder that the Hall of Fame voting is a joke.
Yeah,
but I'm over it. I'm not over it, but I'm over it. If that makes sense.
It's bad.
Yeah. And you dropped the nugget in our Slack earlier today. I saw it this afternoon. Mark Grace got shafted from the Hall of Fame as well. But yeah.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? He makes my Hall of Fame.
Yeah, hey, made the Cubs Hall of Fame. We got to see it happen at CubsCon. I'll tell you what, though, man, just really quick before we hear from you, Juice, because I want to get your thoughts, man. But, baseball is the epitome of the top sports in the U.S. that just can't get out of its own fucking way. That's really what it is, right? The NBA does such a great job marketing their product. They're top players. There is no such thing as blackouts. They're on national TV. They get their superstars in front of the cameras because that's what draws fans. And there's a reason that they're the second highest grossing league from a dollars and cents standpoint of the major sports in the United States, only behind the NFL, which obviously is a marketing and media conglomerate in its own right. But even the NHL is starting to figure it out. And that was a league that I bashed for years. I've been a hockey fan for long enough to bash that league and Gary Bettman about what they do with hockey. And yet hockey is growing in popularity. Baseball is the epitome of it's America's pastime, but you wouldn't fucking know it because they black out half the country and then they can't get Hall of Fame voting, right? Because God forbid that these, old white men can't get off their fucking high horse with their voting. And, it's an exclusive club. Yeah, you guys voted in guys that if they played in today's era from the 1930s would be like me going up to bat and trying to hit a home run. You know what I mean? I probably had more power than some of the guys that played in the 20s. And
I'm so tired of seeing all these people's tweets about, here's my Hall of Fame ballot. And it's just like,
yeah, nobody. It's no names.
One guy today voted so only Gary Sheffield.
I saw
and then
that.
you know what his quote was? You know what his comment was? If you let me look. Oh man, I don't want to. Hang on, just give me just one. Oh my god!
We rev everybody's tempers up.
But it's true though, because the Hall of
my
Fame
head
really
against a wall when I read this.
It's become the Hall of Very Good. right? And
Yeah.
to build on that before Tyler pulls this up, I think that it should come down to a computer program now. There, at least type in like stats to hit in the Hall of Fame, and then have it be AI generated to where, yeah, you're a Hall of Famer or no, you're not. That's the easiest way to do it without bias.
This guy, and he's on FS1. He had a voted solely for Gary Sheffield. His comment, he was talking about everything. And one of his tweets he commented was, and I quote, "If there's a debate about your career, you aren't a Hall of Famer."
Come on.
And then strictly voted for just Gary Sheffield. And then proceeds to talk just about how it's almost like he talks about how the Hall of Fame's broken. He talks about it's crazy how somebody that just got 10% of the vote last year and now has 76%. And it's like, dude, okay, let's back up for a second.
And you're part of the problem.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I was like, you are so part of the problem. Like we could go on for like hours about this, but it's just like, no disrespect to Gary Sheffield. No. Respectable career. You know what? If you want to put him in the Hall of Fame, that's fine. But like, why? Just like, it makes no sense. And it really does.
It's one of those things, like Juice said, right, where there's so much bias in this voting. Yes. I don't see this problem in any other sport.
No.
Right? Like, there's guys that maybe take longer, like in the NFL, right, to get in than they maybe should and things like that and what have you. But like, they get it right. Like, you see the class and you're like, hell yeah, that guy should be in the Hall of Fame. Man. Like right now, Chicago Bears fans, right? We're all sitting here clamoring for Devin Hester to be a Hall of Famer. And I see the debates on Twitter, and I've gotten into it with a couple people on Twitter. We only played 1/3 of the game. Guess what? Every motherfucker only plays 1/3 of the game. That's how football works. He was the best to ever do it at what he did, right?
Change the game.
If you change the game, you should be in. Yeah. How many of these guys that are on the ballot, no offense to Scott Rowland, great ball player, but holy shit, like most of the guys on the list had better careers than him.
I'm just
and
so
guys,
and
go ahead, Tyler.
I'm just so tired of this. Like, it's just the ongoing thing about the, oh well, he doesn't fit the character clause. Like, I'm sorry, kiss my ass with that character clause bullshit, because there's so many. I could go forever just about, like, these old people's, their heroes that they had. It's like, I'm sorry, but these people that you thought were heroes, a lot of these people, Ty Cobb was a piece of shit, if you really go back and look at it. But like, you could say the same thing about Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, who, by the way, in 1961, fun fact, 1961, you know why he dropped out of the home run race? He had an infection from what? A steroid shot. And then just to talk about just all these guys taking greenies, admittedly, it just pisses you off thinking about it. You could go, like we could go for hours about this, but it's bullshit.
What it bullshit. Is in one summed up term, it's hypocrisy.
Yeah,
it is.
That's what it is. It's hypocrisy of the voting committees. Like you said, oh well, these greats from the olden days would never condone this, yet none of them were any better than the guys getting
it's just that whole mentality of back in my day, you know,
when I was a boy.
Yes. We did it on milk and eggs, and
I just laugh.
Hard work.
Well, because let's be honest here. Would Babe Ruth be able to hit Aroldis Chapman?
No.
Did Babe Ruth ever see 104?
No. Babe Ruth was playing against Billy Frick. That, you know, when he got done, he went to the coal miner's shop to go back to work after his game.
He was playing against guys like us. Let's just call it what it is, man. Like, what did Mark Gray say at the Cubs Con? Perfect example, right? He said, he was like, you know, when I played, you could bum a cigarette or chew off a guy. Now, he made the joke, right, with today's players. Now you guys are bumming carrot sticks and kale shakes off each other, you know, and then Ian Happ chimed in and was like, turmeric shots. Like, but that's what it is. that today's athletes are so different in terms of an elite standpoint, in terms of athleticism, than any of the guys that played in the day. Yes, were they great for their time period? Absolutely. Should they be in the Hall of Fame because of what they did in their time period? Absolutely. But don't shaft guys because they played in a time period that, because you're an old fuck and you believe in these stupid unwritten rules. They're unwritten for a fucking reason.
Yeah.
Because they're not rules.
Yeah.
Get off your high horse. And if you can't give the integrity to the voting that you need to just truly unbiased say, was this guy worthy of the Hall of Fame or not, you don't deserve a vote.
No.
Plain and simple. And I hope, Brian, the Lee Fever clips that. And I can just repost that and tag every single baseball writer that has a vote right now.
It's like
If
every
you
vote.
can't do that, you don't deserve a vote. You know who does? You know who should vote at this point? How about former players vote?
Yeah.
No, I'd hate that too.
Yeah,
I hate that too.
But
I'm sorry. I want to remove all bias out of it. Make it a computer program at this point.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I could get behind that too, truthfully.
I mean, there's just so much.
To
Gary
me,
Sheffield, the guys. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, like to me, like if you're able to go on Baseball Reference and look up like players, you should be able to do that and have that qualify for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Why not?
I respect that. Yeah.
Like
No,
if you don't meet like X amount of like players, you don't qualify. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I dig that. I like that idea.
Go ahead, Tyler. Though I cut you off. I'm
It's
sorry,
just,
buddy.
it's just yesterday was just a reminder. I guess back to what you were talking about, Lucy, just how like it's just like you think you take 2 steps forward, but you take 3 steps backwards at just seeing this shit. It's like, I don't know, maybe call me. I don't know how you would fix it. Like, is there, I don't want to even want to ask this, like, as far as, is there too much focus on the numbers? Whereas in basketball and in football, yes, stats are important. They show that, but it's like baseball, everything is about the numbers. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, God, it pisses you off. But like after last year, because it's not a shocker or nothing. I'm a Bonds guy. I love Bonds. I'm a Sosa guy. I'm all those guys. Like, put them in. We could do an hour and a half show on just why those guys should be in. Sosa should be in, all of them. And just the stuff going back as far as like Sosa, for example, fell on his test, was the same test that David Ortiz failed. It was an anonymous test that they all agreed to do. And it's like, if you fail, it's going to be okay. You're not going to get in trouble. And then it's like, well, we're not going to let you in, Sammy, because, you look like you did it more and kept doing it or whatever. It just pisses you off thinking about it. It's the same reason with this guy from FS1 that voted just Gary Sheffield. He was like, well, he never received a suspension. And he just said that he took it unknowingly. He didn't know. So it's like, okay, maybe he didn't know, but like, so we're supposed to believe that, but we're not going to believe, Barry Bonds thinking that he was taking flaxseed oil, which maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, probably whatever. But it's like, it's exhausting, but it just, at the same time, every time it comes up, it just pisses you off when you see it. Cause it's like, Jesus Christ, like you're just shitting on the sport. You know what I mean? Like, you're just making it look bad because all these non-fans see this and like, wow, look at the clusterfuck they're in. Like, whoop, look at this shit show.
100%.
It just, yeah.
Yeah, and just really quick too, Josh Williams jumping back here in the comments says players are just as biased with unwritten rules. Look at some pitches when someone hits a home run and he's got the rolling eyes emoji. But I agree wholeheartedly. Look at what's going on with the Ronald Acuna stuff right now in the Venezuelan league. Right?
Yeah,
he pimped that home run and he got excited about it, and I'm all for it. I fucking like when guys.
Yeah,
I'm one of the guys that I think the unwritten rules are bullshit. I'm all about, because here's the problem: the NFL got rid of a penalty preventing touchdown celebrations because they knew it was good for the game. Basketball allows guys to celebrate all the time because they know it's good for the game. Even the NHL now has guys starting to celebrate and do kind of funny things, and it's garnering attention because they know it's good for the game. But again, baseball cannot get out of its own fucking way and do what's good for the game because they would rather see it die than evolve and stay with the times and remain relevant, because again, baseball just cannot get out of its own fucking way, and I cannot stand it. Nonetheless, Juice, do you have any other final thoughts for today before I get redder in the face than I already am?
Yeah, I got two. I'll take it to a better place that the league may be getting something right.
Take us to a better place, Juice.
That the league is maybe getting something right, and there was some talk about them ending the blackout stuff. I was reading an article about that. They're working on that, which that'd be great for shit. If I buy the MLB package, I should be able to watch it whenever I want. So that's something that. And then I also wanted to congrats the Cubs on their great return on the international prospects that just came out too. Just name some of these names. Shortstop Dernishi Valdez. He was the 6th out of the top 20. They landed 3 of the top 20. I'll name the top 3 that they got. Ludwig Espinoza and shortstop Angel Cepeda. So they had 3 shortstops were the top 3 of the 20, and the Cubs got 3. So that kind of bolsters the system even more. Eventually, those guys will probably start in the instructional league and do all that. But it's good to see them dip back into that pool again and kind of add to the future Cubs that are hopefully going to come down the line eventually.
Yeah, guys worth noting that they've pulled from that in the past. Gleyber Torres, Eloy Jimenez, among others. Christian Hernandez. Quite a few guys that they've pulled from those international pools. So well said, Juice. I'm right there with you, man. My final thought, I'll keep it really simple. That itch that I was talking about that I had for Cubs baseball on Friday, it hasn't gone away. It just needs to be opening day, like Tyler says in his little caption on his StreamYard thing here. He says, is it opening day yet? Because that's how I feel. I'm just ready for baseball. I'm ready for Cubs baseball. I'm ready for the chaos that's going to come along with it. I'm ready for the daily shows with you guys again, because that's always a blast. It keeps me alive and going during the summertime. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be a fun year of Cubs baseball, both at the major league and minor league levels again. And we're going to be bringing a lot of it to you guys here, as Juice mentioned earlier, at Cubs on Tap. We're going to have a lot of fun with it, both levels included. It's going to be a good time. We're going to do a lot of crazy shit, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And again, if Seiya Suzuki hits 50 homers, I'll do some outlandish shit. So, and there will be plenty more outlandish shit here at Cubs on Tap. Guys, before we get out here, I do want to remind everybody Cubs on Tap is one of 2 official Cubs podcasts of the On Tap Sports Network. Be sure to check out our friends over at the Dingers Podcast. They are at Dinger Cubs on Twitter and Instagram. Mitch, Kevin, Jeff, Jake, the whole gang do a great job over there, and we appreciate those guys. And we'll be doing a lot with them during the season as well. We're super duper excited about that. So be sure to check them out. You can follow us, the pod specific account, at Cubbies on Tap, CUBBIES, Twitter and Instagram. I am at Loose on Tap on the Bluebird app. Juice is at Juice on Tap. Tyler's at Teddy Freddy 270. At Joey Knows Nothing, even though we think he knows something. And be sure to follow all of our other great contributors at Bulls Guy Rob, as well as at Brendan M. Kane. They do a great job chipping in. Bulls Guy Rob, we're going to have on soon too. Big prospect guy. You're going to see a lot of content from him throughout the year discussing Cubs prospects during the summer. He's all on top of that. And you guys know the drill. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks. We got the whole deal here at On Tap Sportsnet. And Cubs fans, we all have friends that like the Southsiders.
Southside Hitmen.
They are.
Yeah, that's a bad
yeah. Yeah, they're going through their own crises right now. Tell a friend to tell a friend. They need somebody to cry along with about all the terrible things going on in White Sox.
Whoa! Breaking news: White Sox signed Trevor Bauer. Oh wait, what?
Hey man, who knows? I don't know what they're gonna do. They're gonna have to do something though, because it looks like Clevenger's in hot water. But if you need to debate that, tell your friends to go check out Sox on Tap. They do a good job covering the Southsiders. But they're going to have a hard year. And we're going to have a fun year. So to you Cubs fans that follow along with us, be ready because we're going to have a good time. Can't say the same about our friends on the other side of the house. So unfortunate for them. But once again, OnTapSportsNet.com and OnTapSportsNet on social media, the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. This was a fun one tonight, looking a little more down the road at guys that we'll see in the coming years. But as we noted, man, we're ready for this 2023 season. I did mention Joey and I got a bit of news. I'm going to keep everybody in suspense until the next show. We're pretty excited about something that's happened in the old world of Cubs baseball. But nonetheless, What do you say, boys? We get out of here the only way we know how. Here it comes on tap.
Hey, it's Royal Rumble weekend, so let me tell you something. Chip Carey, if you didn't heard the news, I got it for you right here. Chip Carey, I'll give you a rock promo real quick. Chip Carey left Atlanta, drove up 65 through Memphis, through Nashville, through Paducah, through Mayfield, all the way up to that shithole city in Missouri, drove through the arc, through the shit, into the stadium in St. Louis to say, finally, fuck the Cardinals. You like that?
I don't know how to follow that up.
And let's go Cubs.
Let's go, Cubbies.
Cubbies.